Hey everybody, welcome back to Creating Scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator using free resources as always. Hey, today we are going to do part 2 of our airport signage. Remember last time we talked about some resources that you can download or websites you can go to get some prototypes and things like that. And then we went into Krita and created a basic 4-panel texture. Okay, like I said in the video, it's not taxiway sign grammatically correct, but it will do the job for this video. Today, we are going to go into Blender and we're going to model the actual sign itself. Detail is totally up to you on how much detail you want to give the signs. We have to think levels of detail, with LOD00 being the highest detailed model, and then any subsequent number is less detailed. All right, so if you really want to make a nice detailed sign, such as maybe like this iLux sign here that has the nice detailed supports and any kind of details on the side, I would suggest that you would make that a LOD00 and then make a LOD01 with less detail, okay? And then you might want to set the min size of the LOD00 to, something like 200%. Or if you guys remember what the min size is for a level of detail, it's the percentage that the bounding box or sphere of an object takes up on the screen. So if you really want a highly detailed sign, but you don't want it to show up until the pilots are like right up on it, you would set that min size to some large number like 200. Like the bounding box takes, will show up if the bounding box is 200% the size of your screen. All right. You wouldn't want that highly detailed sign to show up when your pilot's on approach. All right. So let's go into Blender and make us a sign. Oh, I want to bring back up my prototype here. I am going to use the iLux product. Okay, it's just a simple square box, has some screw heads on it, and then it has the mounting plates. So let's get to work. Now this particular sign, remember, like I said, this company makes half panels. We're going to make our panels 32 inches by 32 inches. No, let's make them 36 by 36. 3 feet by 3 feet. A half panel would be 1.5 feet. All right, so this company sells half panels for single digit numbers and things like that, and you can tell whether it's a full segment or half segment by the number of legs. A full segment has 2 legs, a half segment has 1 leg. All right, but you guys can get as realistic as you want. All right, so it's not going to be hard, I hope. All right, and here we are in Blender, and I am going to go ahead and save right off the bat, and I'm going to make sure I'm in taxiway, and I'm going to replace this taxiway sign Blender file that I had before, because I was playing a couple weeks ago. I was playing with this one, I think. All right, so I'm just going to call it taxiway sign just for this tutorial. So I'll click that, so I overwrote that old one. And usually we like to delete our default cube, right? Well, I'm not going to this time. I'm going to let it stay. It gets to play. All right, so I just deleted the light and the camera. All right, and so now it's time to give this cube a size. So I'm going to bring up, oh, got to turn my keycasts on. All right, I'm going to bring up the item, and I am going to change my units to empirical. Sorry for all you metric people. Like I said, I use both metric and imperial interchangeably. I feel comfortable with them both. But anyway, so right now I have a 6.5 foot by 6.5 foot cube, and we are going to, in the X direction, this is, remember, our image yesterday was a 4-segment sign. So we're going to say 4 segments, 3 segments a piece. 3 feet a segment. So 4 of those is 12. So my X distance is going to be 12 feet. And my Y is the thickness of the sign, and we're going to make that 1 foot. We could probably, I think, go 1.5 because that iLux brand is a little stouter than that. All right, so we're going to go Z, and we're going to make this 3 feet high, and then we need to bring this up. For now, I'm just going to go up. I'm going to move everything GZ 1.5 to just bring the bottom of our bar, so to speak, even with the bottom of the ground. Now, we're going to make our legs. Okay, and since we have 4 segments of this particular object, we are going to need 8 legs, right? So we're going to call this, we're going to keep that sign. All right, we're going to Shift A, and we are going to add a mesh cylinder. Okay, and I want that cylinder to be, let's say 3 inches in diameter, which is 0.25 feet, and 0.25 feet for the Y, and for the X, we're going to make it, they're about 8 inches tall, so we're going to go 0.75, hit enter. Okay, so we got 1 right there, right? Now, if this is all 12 foot, and I want my first leg to be maybe inset 1 foot, I'm at 6 foot right now here in the middle. So if I move this in the X direction, we're going to move that -5. Okay. And now what we can do is, I believe we can come over here to modifiers and go to modifier and do an array modifier. And we want not a relative offset, we want a constant offset. And our constant offset is going to be, I'm trying to think, if I have 3, let's see what 2 feet. X direction. Oh, let me go object, apply all transformation. There we go. All right, there we go. I had to do that. And let's increase our count to 8. All right, so there's our 8 legs for our 4 segments. So we can close the gap. Let's go 1 foot. Okay, that's 1.5. Okay, so that's pretty close. It's not perfect. All right, So I bet I can move everything over probably 0.25. So we are going to X minus 0.25. There we go. It's a little better, I think. It looks a little more centered. Okay, so we have our array, but let's go into edit mode, and I want to take, first of all, I want to select my sign. We're going to select everything, because remember, our legs are 8 inches tall. All right, and right now they're in the middle. And what I want to do is I want to take our sign, and I want to GZ, whoops, I want to GZ, not GX, GZ, and I want to move that up 0.75. All right. Now I want to select our legs, and I want to turn on snap, turn our snap to edge. Okay, with our legs selected, go into tab, and I am going to zoom into this leg. Now these are all modifiers, so whatever changes I make to this one, all of these will be affected. I'm going to shift click this vertice here and select it again to make it active. Make sure I have active selected in my snap, and I am going to move that up until this vertice is on the same plane as this edge right here. So I'm going to GZ and then just snap to that line. Okay, so now our legs are in the right position. Okay, now I believe there is a top and bottom plate that connects to like the concrete that's down here. All right, so in edit mode, I can let's select this bottom face and shift S and move our cursor to that location, and we are going to, still in edit mode, I'm going to shift A, and I'm going to add a plane. Okay, and I'm going to scale that plane with S. I'm going to scale it down like that. All right, and notice that it erased all of those as well. Now I want to extrude that, because I want to give it some thickness, so I'm going to extrude and hold down my shift key and just kind of move this up a little bit just to give it some thickness there. Okay, so we have the bottom plate that bolts into the ground. Now you could put a top plate, but to be honest with you, nobody's going to see the top plate. All right, now I believe in our prototype, let me bring that up real quick. We have some gussets. Well, some of them have gussets. This one has this. These are formed into there, plus the top part of our. These are probably mounting holes. It's kind of like a pipe. In this part of the pipe slips into this part of this pipe, and then they bolt those together. That's what that looks like to me. All right, we'll make some generic gussets that kind of hold that together. All right, so let's go into, we're in edit mode. Let's put a loop cut. So Control R, click, and I think the center is good enough, so hit enter and escape. All right, so we have a loop cut there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into X-ray mode, go to polygon select. All right, and we are going to extrude all these polygons I just selected. We are going to extrude those to make those bigger, so it looks like a pipe sliding inside of a pipe. So I'm going to right click my mouse and I'm going to extrude faces along normals. And then when I hold my shift key and move my mouse, they all move out according to their normals. So it looks like that. Okay. Now, if you want to put some gusset material around that, we can do that this way. Alright, so if we want to make gussets, if we have 4 gussets, okay, on each one of those, let's get out of edit mode, and I am going to add, I'll leave my origin right, my 3D cursor right here. I'm gonna add 2 objects, Shift A, mesh, not mesh, empty. I'm gonna put a empty right there. I'm gonna Shift A and I'm going to add a mesh plane. Okay, and I'm going to scale that. And notice that it is not being arrayed because I don't want it arrayed yet. Alright, now I want to rotate that on the Y. So I'm going to rotate Y 90 degrees to stand it up. Okay, and then I am going to let's see, GZ. We're going to bring that up until it's right there, okay? And then we're going to kind of bring this in the X direction out. Nope. Bring this, how do I want to do this? Oh, I know what I want to do. I want to turn this on the I want to rotate it on the Z 45 or minus, yeah, 45 degrees. That should be pointing toward our corner. I'm going to go into edit mode, go into ghost, and turn my snapping to vertex. Okay, and then make my edit feature vertex, and I'm going to Shift X, click, and make this vertex active, and I'm going to G and snap it right over here. Just like that. Alright. Now, they're kind of a triangle. Actually, they're not kind of a triangle. They are a triangle, but we don't want triangles in Blender. So I am just going to take these 2 vertices here, and I'm going to line them up with, hopefully, let's turn this to edge. And no, I'm going to leave them. They can stay there. Alright. I was going to try to just bring them out. They can go inside. That's fine. Alright. I am going to select this vertex, and I'm going to double hit the G so it moves in this the plane that it is actually drawn on. All right, and I'm going to click there to kind of make that look like this. Does that make sense? So it's not really a triangle. It's still a quad. There's still 4 vertices. All right. Now I am going to tab out, and I am going to set the origin. I'm going to right click, set the origin to the 3D cursor. Okay. And then we are going to put an array modifier that goes around the empty. So in order to do that, all right, I want to right click, set origin to 3D cursor. Okay, I want to object, apply rotation scale. Now I'm going to come over here to the modifier, and I'm going to add an array modifier, and I want 4 of them. Okay, and I want to uncheck relative offset, check object offset, and select our empty. Okay, now I select the empty. Okay, let me turn off ghost mode so we can see it. Alright, then I turn off ghost mode. I have my empty selected. Now I'm going to rotate my empty on the Z, RZ, and we are going to rotate it, I think 45. 90. We're going to rotate it 90. So now we have 4 gussets like this. Okay? And then we are going to select our gussets, and we're going to apply our array. Okay? Now, with our gussets selected, we can also hold Shift and select our legs, all right, which have an array assigned to them already. I am going to Control J and join those with the legs, and now those gussets are also arrayed. Okay, so we should have a signboard that kind of looks like this, right? All right, now let's rename cylinder, double click that, call this legs, and let's call this cube sign. Okay, now it's time to work on the sign itself. All right, now I'm not going to put a lot of detail to this. You guys know how to model by now, I'm sure, right? Okay, you guys probably model a heck of a lot better than I do. All right, now, really, to be honest with you, I don't believe we need this empty anymore, so we can go ahead and delete that. Okay, let's select our sign, and let's do some basic, real easy basic work. Now, most of these signs, they only have one side that's the sign is on. All right, they might exist, but I don't think there's too many double-sided signs. All right, we're only going to do one side, so I'm going to select the sign itself, go into edit mode, and before I go into edit mode, I think I already did this. Apply all transformations. Yeah, okay. All right, with the apply all transformations. Now I'm in edit mode, and this is the side that's going to have the face. Now these are 36 by 36 inch pieces, but there needs to be some kind of a frame right in the front. So if I bring up our prototype, notice that it has a black frame. Okay, this is usually a piece of polycarbonate material that has the paint or sticker or whatever used to make the sign. I'm not a sign maker, so, but it's probably polycarbonate, which is kind of like plexiglass, except it's hard, it's stronger. Okay, it's what bulletproof glass is made out of, is polycarbonate. So they inset these panels inside the frame. All right, so we need this frame. So we're going to hit I to inset, and we can, wrong. I want to select that single face, right? All right, and then we can hit I to inset. And we're going to let's make the boundary, let's see what, 0.2. 0.2, Let's go 0.15. Let's make it a little smaller. All right. So now we have this. Okay. And we want to give it the appearance of some thickness, right? So I can extrude, hit E. Oh, let me escape and Control Z that because I want to turn off snap. All right, let's E, and let's go, let's inset that. Whoops, I just screwed up. My bad. All right, let's try this again. So I'm going to select this face, hit I, 0.15. All right, and then I'm going to, with this face selected, I'm going to hit E, hold down my Shift key, and just move it back slightly. Just kind of like that, just to give it some reveal. We call that reveal in the carpenter world, I guess. Okay, just to give it some depth. Like I said, you guys can do as much detail as you want, but just remember, if you add a lot of detail to a sign, you're going to want to make lesser detailed versions of it so you don't get the highly detailed sign on approach. Okay? All right, so we insetted that a little bit. Now, with this sign face still selected, let's hit P to make a new selection. And now we have sign 001. Let's rename that to sign face. Okay, yeah, I made it all caps. All right, so now we have the basic components of our sign. Now it's just a matter of, now if you want to put screw heads and stuff like that, you're more than welcome to do that. For this sake, I'm not going to. We're just going to do some basics so I don't make this longer than it really needs to be. All right, so we have our sign face and we have our frame. So let's start making it look pretty. You know what else we need? I am going to select everything, hit A. Whoops, I'm going to get out of edit mode first, then hit A, select everything, and we are going to move this up, everything up in the Z direction, G, Z, and I want to go up 0.15. All right, now there's a reason why I want it to be 0.5. All right, so I'm going to not select everything, and I'm going to Shift S. I'm going to move my cursor back to the world. Okay. And I am going to Shift A and add a mesh plane. Okay. And we are going to scale this SX. And we're going to scale that out to here. And I'm just doing it by sight. Okay. And I think the width is good enough. I think that's good enough. Now let's give that some thickness. So let's go into edit mode, select our face, and let's extrude that 0.15. The same thickness that we moved everything up. Okay. Now we have a concrete pad that it sits on. All right, now it's time to start making things look pretty. Okay, let's start with our legs. Let's take a look at our prototype. Like I said, detail is totally up to you. Looks like we have I don't know if it's just the lighting or not, but they could be two. This is probably stainless steel, and this is probably galvanized steel. All right. But you can make it all one color. We'll make it all one color for now and see what that looks like. All right, so what I'm going to do is get tab out of edit mode, and I'm going to select our legs, and I'm going to go into viewport shading, and we are going to add a material. So I'm going to come down here to material. I'm going to add new, and we'll just call this legs. Okay, and we want to give it some color. So I'm going to move that down, darken it up just a little bit, and I am going to add some metallic to it. And we're going to move down the roughness to make it a little bit shinier, I guess. Let's move this metallic down. Okay. All right, so we got some legs. Now, what you could do is you can make the lower part of the leg lighter colored if you wanted to give it some contrast. All right, now let's select the frame of our sign, and we know that that's black, so let's call this material black. Oop, whoop, 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 whoop. No. Let's see here. Yeah, let's call it black. Yeah. Okay, and then come down here and let's change this to black. And you know, I usually, when I make things black color, I don't make it all the way down. I make them a little less than completely black. All right, and then we are going to move up the metallic because they are kind of shiny. And we're going to move down the roughness a little bit. Okay, so they kind of give us a little bit of shine. Now notice our face is also black. So I'm going to select the face and I'm going to disassociate that texture. Okay, now for the concrete base, we need a concrete material. And what I'm going to do, let me pause and see if I have one in this location. Okay, I don't have a concrete material in my guinea pig airport. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to come down here to my textures. And we're going to see if I can find a concrete. I got a bunch of concrete. That's a 2K. Yeah. We don't need a lot of detail, so I'm going to take this 2K texture and I'm going to right click and drag that into my texture folder. Copy that. Okay. Oh, that's a JPEG. I don't want a JPEG. I don't want a JPEG. I need to convert that one over to a PNG. That's ugly. Let's go to 34 4K. Yeah, let's select this one. Let's do this concrete 34 4K. I'm going to copy this into my texture directory. All right, there we go. Well, now we have a concrete. Now let's go and select our base, add a new material, and let's call it concrete. Hit enter. And let's come down here to MSFS parameters, and let's choose a standard. And we are going to, I don't worry about that, come down to the actual base color, open. And if you notice, I have not UV'd unwrapped it. Okay, I'm not really concerned with that right now. So let's go to texture, double click there, and choose our 34 right here, open. Okay, and since I don't have it UV unwrapped, I get this kind of stuff. All right, so let's go to UV editor and hit A to select. I'm hitting the period on the number pad to zoom into to focus into my selection. We're going to go to UV, Smart on UV, click OK, and then that sets that up like that. And then we can A to select all, and we can scale it to make our concrete look a little better. All right, so yeah, that's good enough now for what we're doing today. All right, now let's do a save. The next step is to bring in our texture that we made in Krita yesterday. Okay, so like I said, you can do as much detail on the actual sign itself, all right? But the crux of all of this tutorial is the face. We made a texture yesterday in Krita. So let's go to UV editing, and let's hit A to select that face. And let's go to UV Unwrap, Smart UV Unwrap, and hit OK. Okay, and that brings in our, here's our face, all right, but we don't know which way it's really oriented yet. So let's go to Materials, and let's add a new material. And we're going to call this material usually you would name them according to what the actual sign says, right? Okay, so we're going to call this Alpha Bravo right, and then what was it, 27L9 right. I think that's what I called it. I can't remember. That's all right. We'll give it a name. It just has to have a name. Okay, then, oh, we need to make sure that make sure that we're in rendered mode here. And then we're going to come down to MSFS parameters, do a standard material, and we're going to go get our sign that we made yesterday. So, and that's in the textures directory, the texture directory. It's right here. Alpha Bravo right, 27L9 right. We're going to select that texture that we made, and we're going to open, and notice that it is sideways, right? So we need to rotate this. So according to this right here, this is over here in our model. Okay, so we want to rotate it to the right. So we're going to hit A to select, rotate 90, minus 90, minus 90. Okay, now you notice that our face has changed, so we need to change the size. So we're going to select vertices here. We're going to select these two vertices, and we're going to move those in the X direction. And these. This part is pretty much, it's the same as you would do any other texture when you're UV mapping. Drop that down to there. Okay. So that gives that. Let's go into layout mode, and this is what our sign looks like. Now, see how fuzzy these are? That's because I made it a 1K image. If you want them more crisp, you can make it a 2K or a 4K image. You might have different versions of it. So like if your pilot is really, really up close to the sign somehow, you can have it use a 4K image, and then when you're way out here, you can use a 1K or a 2K image. All right. But for all intents and purposes, that looks just fine. Now we need to be able to tell it that this sign is going to light up at night. Okay. So let's do a file save first. And then we're going to come over here to the sign material. Okay. And we are going to come down to day-night cycle. Click that. And for the emissive down here, we need to add an emissive texture. Well, that emissive texture for this sign is the same texture that we're using for the sign. All right, so the base color and the emission is using the same exact texture. So I'm going to go to texture, and I'm going to select that texture again, open that image, and notice how it got a little brighter. Okay, but we also have to come up to the emission color, and we need to move this up to brighter. Okay, then we're going to do a save. Okay, so that is our sign. All right, now you could put screw heads and all that kind of stuff, as much detail as you want. Now sometimes these are yellow on the back side, sometimes they're black on the back side. It totally, it's up to you. All right, so before we export, we want to select everything, and we want to make sure that all transformations are applied. Okay, scale, position, rotation, all that is applied. Now we want to create our export. So we are going to come down here to the multi-exporter, look at our settings, and we're going to make our settings /texture/ and we're going to include custom properties, punctual lights, and for geometry, any modifiers. This is standard. Okay, objects. All right, now I want to rename my collection. I'm going to rename my collection to taxiway sign underscore LOD00. Okay. Now I can make a copy of this and make another collection, LOD01, and maybe use a 2K version, maybe get rid of some detail of the sign so the distance away. You know, you can set up your signs in levels of detail. If you want to remember levels of detail, I have a level of detail video that you can watch to see how to do that. But for now, we're just going to stay with LOD00. This is good enough for now. All right, so I have my collection named as my LOD. And that usually is the name of the file with an underscore LOD00. Then I'm going to go and reload the LODs and group by collection. So now I have taxiway sign. I'm going to generate an XML, and I am going to save that in the taxiway sign folder. I'm going to accept that. Now, I did this before, and so I have an XML and I have two LODs already in there. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of those because we're going to redo those. Yeah, I practiced on a different kind of sign, so I'm going to select these three right here, and I'm just going to delete them like they didn't exist. All right, so I select the folder, accept that location, and then I'm going to turn on the LOD. Now here's where, since I only have one level of detail, I leave it 0, but if I had more than one, I would give them a percentage. So something this detailed, I'd probably use 100% or higher to draw this particular detail. All right, so with that selected, I am going to select export, and it should be done. So let me bring this up, and there it gets written. There's today's date and time, and then let's open up the XML. You don't have to do anything in the XML right now, but let's open that up. And there's our XML. Okay, so that worked. Now the next step is to build our project. All right, so I'm gonna save again. All right, minimize this, and I'm gonna go to 5 alpha 1, and I'm going to take the XML and I'm gonna left drag and drop onto the FS package tool. Let that finish. Now I have a lot of stuff in this guinea pig airport, that's why it's taken a little longer. All right, but it's building on the other screen, and as soon as that's done, I will show you what it is done. It's almost done. There it is. All right, so in the build process, we have our, see, it has the test block and all those other rain things I did for other videos, but 0 failed, so that's good. So we'll hit any key to continue, and I'll minimize this box, and I'm going to start the simulator, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm in the sim, and yeah, it's kind of a rainy day here. I have live weather turned on. I guess I really didn't have to have it turned on for my tutorial, but I forgot to turn live weather off. So anyway, here we are at my guinea pig airport, and I have my project loaded, 5 alpha 1, and I have the BGL loaded in the editor. And for scenery, I got 5 alpha 1 selected, and if I choose taxiway sign, click once, notice that our sign shows up and it's raining. Okay, so there is our sign. Okay, so if I move it out here into the grass, okay, click there, and then if I kind of move around a little bit, there is our sign. So we got to see if that turns on at night. You would think with it being cloudy it would turn on, but let's go to options, and I turned my picture off, by the way, because I would freeze up in the sim anyway. And so let's turn it into dark, and there's our sign lit up. Now you can, in Blender, you can adjust the brightness with that emission color. I have it turned all the way up, so it's really, really bright, but you can slide that up and down to determine how bright that you want this light of the texture to be. Okay, so you can play with that a little bit, but for all intents and purposes, our taxiway light custom sign is working. Let's go to options and let's go back to daylight. Okay, so yeah, that's all it takes to make a custom airport sign. Like I said, you can do as much detail as you want, but for all purposes, there we go. Just like that. I would think in real life, it being so dingy out with the rain and stuff, that you would have some control, but I have not really played with that because, you know, with it being so dingy and dark and rainy out, this light would be on in real life. So anyway, but it's a sim, So there's your custom airport sign. I hope this helped. Please subscribe if you haven't. Pass this along to your colleagues if they're wanting to learn how to do this. If you feel inclined to support me, buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld. Hey, thanks guys. You guys are awesome, and I will see you guys on the next video. See you guys later.